people would come watch the afternoon pickup games like they were regular games.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. It was crazy.
Check up, game point, you better step up. Get a bucket, get a dub, and get your rep up. Cause I'm Sharon right on the post with it. I'm 94 hard net, coast to coast with it. Homie, I made it sell moon, get to you how you want it and all. Matter of fact, I'm a little wasted with the 3-ball. That's game time. You a bucket, we the same kind. Black Larry, Doc, and J Lil with the hang time.
Hey, listen, man, this ain't no Fresky. I run our test beats. I split your double team and dunk on your bestie. I expose with them nets, Petrovic, I Wayne Gretzky. Just go on my dog, I'm irritated, scratch a pit beat. Met them with the players, I show love and they get peace. 20 of them, plenty of them, lemon pepper wet, please. Making John Jamal's hit the gym and holler door. Them boys that run and shoot them out the bridge, you better do it, bro. They better do it. We pull up in the bucket, you get buckets. I pull up on that boy and I say bam. I double dribble with my Panda brothers. In every gym we ball up for the rim. We pull up in the bucket, you get buckets. I pull up on that boy and I say bam. I double dribble with my Panda brothers. In every gym we ball up for the rim.
In my career and in my lifetime, a lot of the best coaches that I know of and have seen have that as their purpose, affecting lives.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw a coach tweet. I guess he's a basketball coach that does he coaches now. Mm-hmm. And one of his things is your coaching transactional or is it transformative? Is it transformational or is it transactional?
Yeah.
Right. And in my career, I definitely experienced both. Right.
Yeah.
And so, my youth, I was extremely fortunate with my youth coaches. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they were amazing. They were unbelievable for me. And they did it because it was a labor of love for them and they wanted to change and they wanted to be transformational. Right.
Yeah.
And so, when I first got here, because I didn't play organized in ADL as well. When I first got to Macon, I started playing in the Parks and Rec League. And we made the transition after my 4th grade year to 5th grade to play in the Bibb County. I think it was the PALS League is what it was.
I think it was
the PALS League, but it was whatever. It was the county league where each side of town kind of had their own team, like the high school. It was the elementary school team for the middle school for the high school, right? And so I had the fortune of being coached by Randy Crawford for 2 years, who was mentored by Coach Alvin Copeland at Northeast, who was a legendary girls basketball coach, not only in Middle Georgia basketball, but nationally. I mean, people know Coach Copeland. Like he had major success at Northeast. And so Coach Randy, I call him Uncle Randy. Randy was mentored by Coach Copeland and Coach Johnson, who was the boys coach at Northeast at the time. And those 2 years with him were incredible for me because I moved here in 3rd grade. So I didn't have you know what I mean? Like I didn't develop those natural bonds that you develop in neighborhoods here in Macon, and you know what I mean? And so that being the case, like you're not as comfortable, not as confident, not as, you know what I'm saying? Always kind of searching for connection and all that kind of stuff. And that's, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's like that when you graduate high school and go to college. It's the same thing, right? It's new people, it's new environment. And so playing for him and him being involved was major for me because he was tough, but he, for some reason, knew how to coach me. And that's how it was with each of the guys. It seemed like he knew how to coach each one separately to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
And he understood Mike's hard on himself at an early age. For me, he understood he's hard on himself. I don't need to push him as much as I need to pull him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he would pull me when I needed pulling. And so that, allows me to grow and develop, and because now I know he's on my side.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was very fortunate to have him and Miles Patrick.
Yeah.
Miles Patrick coaching me the summer of my 5th grade year, going into 6th grade at Freedom Park in the summer program league. Miles Patrick, legendary.
Yeah.
Southwest graduate, Auburn, training camp with the Lakers, like legendary, right? And so he was vital for me making the next step in building my confidence. And the reason that was because that summer league team was a middle school team. It was 7th and 8th graders.
Yeah.
I was in the 5th going to the 6th,
yeah.
and he made me play up with those guys. And then he made me compete in practice, and then he started me.
Yeah.
As a rising 6th grader on a middle school, those 8th graders were going to high school, right? And so in that summer, he was able to do the same. He was able to understand, I see how Mike is. He ain't quite, let me pull him, right? He challenged me, but he pulled me along when I needed pulling, and a lot of coaches don't understand that.
Yeah, that's a lost art too.
You can't coach every kid the same way.
Yeah.
You can't push and push and push and push and push every kid. Some kids need pulling, right? And so there's an art to that. And I was fortunate to be able to have coaches early who understood that and were able to handle me correctly, right? Mm-hmm. And then, getting to middle school, same thing. Coach Ken Garvin, Coach Garvin wasn't even really a basketball coach. Like he's a football track wrestling guy, right? Yeah. But he understood how to handle, and then high school, same way. My first year I played for Coach Slocum, who Coach Slocum's obviously legendary in Middle Georgia as well, football coach, but a lot of people may not know Coach Slocum won 2 state titles in basketball, coaching basketball, right? Yep. And so I was able to play for him my 8th grade year, and he's another one that understands that it's transformational, not transactional, right? Yeah. Not what can you do for me right now, but how can I help transform your life moving forward? How can I use this to help transform you for the better? And and so I was fortunate, and I think that's one of the things that's been lost too, is not only the players but the coaches. It's me. It's what's best for me right now, and that, I mean, the game has just changed on, in all components and all aspects of it. It's just different. I mean, it's different. And I think that's not necessarily just basketball. I think that's a microcosm of society.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? I think it's such a me society now.
It's affecting all sports.
It's sports and business and every avenue of life is being affected by that disease of me. And so I think if you can keep that mentality and that understanding that, I want to change lives for the better, you'll have an effect that will be lasting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It'll be lasting. So
and what's so funny about not to
go ahead.
break in, but what's so funny about that is you might not know how you've changed one of your players' lives until 5-6 years later. When they come back up to you and say, Coach, you know what? I really appreciate what you did for me when I played on your team. Yeah. I really, you might not know that. You know? All you can remember is that you had to get on his tail in practice and make him work hard and straighten him out. But then they come back and tell you that, that's rewarding. Yeah, that's gratifying. That makes you feel good. That makes you feel real good. And you forgot about this Richardson summer camp.
Oh man! Those were Duck.
Yes.
Duck. No, Jeff Malone.
Jeff Malone. Yeah.
Jeff Malone camps were like where I really understood like the game of basketball meant so much in Macon back then that even as a young player, you had to earn your stripes and earn respect.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like, they were looking down at the young kids like, oh, he can go, or he, and competing in Jeff Malone graduated from Southwest in the late 70s, played at Mississippi State, played 12, 15 years in the league.
He played with
the Jazz. I think he was drafted by the Bullets, Washington Bullets, but then he played with the Jazz, and he may have played with one other team, but he was an all-star. I mean, like Jeff was phenomenal.
Yeah. So the jump shot.
Oh man, could shoot it. Like shoot, that's what he did.
Shot.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that drives me nuts nowadays with the skill development. That was his one thing that he did, and he played a decade plus, and he shot the ball. Yeah. That's it. Like there was none of this 2 dribble combo split. Like catch it, shoot it. Catch it, not open right away. 1 dribble, pull up, shoot it. Like it was, and he played years in the league, right? Yeah. So Jeff would come home in the summer and do a camp, and it was big time. Oh man, it was major, and he would travel. So like you may start out at Unionville, and then Tuesday you may be at Bloomfield, Wednesday you may be at Freedom Park. Like it rotated like that. You might be at Southwest Thursday, you might finish up at Central Friday, and then it was major, and all the Hoopers played in that camp.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of them. And so I had a big time confidence boost in that camp because Jeff would play you one-on-one for a t-shirt. A Jeff Malone special order. I think he had maybe like 3 of them every day. 3 of them wherever he went. Right? And you sit out there at half court, the whole camp sit out there at half court. He call out, oh, come on. So you play the one. Play 1-on-1 to 1. This is a pro now. So if you miss, it's a wrap, over. Right? It's a wrap. So I get picked. Boom. So I jump up there, I'm nervous, but I'm excited at the same time. So I think because he would always give you ball first. So I think shooting, he blocked it, smacked it, like sent it into the campers. Boom. All right, so now I'm playing D. I think he missed on purpose. To this day, I still think he missed on purpose. But he shot it and missed it. So now, my turn. I take it out. I don't know how. I threw the ball up. The ball went in. I threw it up. It went in. Oh my God! I got a shirt. I got a Jeff Malone.
He came on that.
But that was a confidence boosting thing, right? And so. And it was super cool. It was super cool to be able to play in that, and for it to be an individual development camp like they used to be. It was super competitive because there was a lot of good players, and it was all ages from. Might have started like 3rd grade up through high school. Like
it would be packed.
It would be packed. People would come watch the afternoon pickup games. Like they were regular games. Yeah. Like it was crazy. It was crazy.
That was very convenient for me working with the Parks and Recreation Department because I could just go to the gym.
Go see it,
and see it.
Right.
Yep.
Right. But I know in prep, I know you had some things you wanted to ask and some things, I'm sure, Dad, you might have some things you want to ask and get out there. So
well, since we're rolling on the whole coaching spurt, what's kind of your background on coaching? How'd you get into it?
Yeah. So I've always had that same thing you have for it, right? I never looked at the game as me. You know what I mean? Like I've always, so to me, the fun in playing to me was obviously to compete, to try to win, but it was the camaraderie and it was the strategy. I used to love the chess game of, you know, all right, they're in a 2-3 zone. How we gonna beat that? All right, coach, they switched to an odd front zone. How we gonna beat that? Are they playing man? And this is how we gonna beat that, right? And so that naturally for me to play the point guard. So playing the point guard, you got to know how all the pieces fit together, right, and how they work together, and you got to know everybody else's job. So it's natural to transition out of that into coaching, because it's the same thing. You got to know how all the pieces fit together. You got to know, you know, and so I really got my start in coaching camps during my time at Rice, coaching the summer camps at Rice, and it was funny because the coaches would notice and they'd be like, "Man, this is what you gonna do." Right? And I'm like, nah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that, man. Like, you know, because, you know, as we'll talk about later, I got a super bitter taste in my mouth at the time, right? So, nah, man, I'm good on that, right? I'm good. But every summer, like even other coaches that would come from high schools, local high schools that would come work camp, they'd be like, "Hey, man, if you want to go into this now," I got like, so it was natural. It was because it was natural for me to connect to the kids. Right. And they saw how the kids responded to me. And so that's kind of how I got my start in coaching, was doing that. And then, so my last year of college, which I played 4, and then I had the 5th one to finish up my degree, right? And so that 5th year, not playing, I'm working in the ticket office and, you know, business ticket office and sports business ticket office and all that. And, you know, I'm stepped away from playing and being in the hustle and bustle of having to do that. And I'm able to think a little differently, right? And so your mama told me, she said, "I don't know why you like worry about doing all this. You gonna be a coach." She told me that. And I was like, you know what? It is in me. Like that's in me to be that. And so I worked, graduated the summer of 2004, May. I worked UGA's camp that June. And one of the assistants at UGA, because we're doing a drill and I'm out there and I'm excited, I'm teaching, you know, and like, I'm not out here to, you know, I'm out here to
waste my time.
I'm out here to affect lives. Right? So I'm out, so let's go. Like, if you're going to do a drill, we're going to do it right. Let's go. We're going to get better. We're going to get better. Right? And so I'm out there doing that. And Mike Jones, he actually was the assistant coach at UGA at the time. I think he might be the head coach at, he might be in the ACC now, but he was at Radford for a while after he left UGA. But he was like, "Hey, man," like he called me out in the coaches meeting after that first day of camp. Like, "Hey, man, you know, great job, awesome job, da 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 da." And, you know, and I'm like, man, I'm just doing what I like. I'm not trying. I'm just doing what I do, right? And so I still ran from it. So when I graduated, I worked that camp, and they actually talked to me about a GA spot at Georgia, right? And I had someone tell me, "Hey, man, like," because, you know, I had you at the time. You were young. And they were like, "Hey, man, you got a kid. Like, this GA life is not for somebody that's trying to raise a family." Like, he told me straight up, and I respect that. And that guy and I still stay connected to this day, because he was real enough to tell me, "Hey, look, man, like, I don't want to tell you how to, but just, I'm telling you what this is from the inside." Like, it's a grind that I don't know that somebody who's raising a family, you know, wants to step into. And so I stepped, you know, worked other jobs, and I was helping you a little bit with your AAU program a little bit during that time. And 2007, 2008 maybe, 2008. National championship, I'm watching Memphis and Kansas, right? I'm watching the national championship game, laying on the couch that night, watching the game. I think Monday night, because they're played on Monday. It's Monday night. I'm watching. I think Chalmers hit like a 3 at the buzzer or late or something for Kansas to win it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got to get in.
Yeah.
Right? And so the next day, I call Corey Williams. So Corey, we know Corey, awesome dude, man, awesome dude. So Corey played at Northeast, played at Oklahoma State, played for the Bulls for 2 years, won a title with the Bulls. I think he might have played overseas, but he had been in coaching for probably 15 years at the time, right? And we stayed connected. And so I reached out to Corey. I said, Corey, man, I got to get in, right? I got to get in. So he said, that was a Tuesday night. Wednesday, he called me back. He said, hey, man, I want you to call this guy, right? He got a director of operations spot at South Carolina State. And, he coached me at Oklahoma State, and my head coach is there. So I was like, all right, cool. So I reach out, and just so happens, and this is what you'll learn, and we've talked about this is how this works. It's about who you know, right? So just so happened that the head coach at South Carolina State at the time had coached Corey. So that was one connect. He had coached one of my director of operations at Rice at Northwestern, which was 2. And he was buddies with my head coach at Rice. So that was 3. So I had 3 guys in my corner to be able to go to him and say, hey, Now, knowing what I know now, I don't know. I think 2 of them were very favorable. You got to hire that guy. The third one might have been like, hey, man, like, here's the deal kind of situation. But, so we ended up getting the gig at South Carolina State. So that was my first coaching gig. But it was an operations job, which they don't really operate. Director of operations don't really coach. They're not on court. They're more of a administrative. You take care of team travel, lodging, meals, practice times, summer camp stuff. Like, it's administrative. But it's really hard to get that spot without having been a GA. Yeah. Right. So I was lucky, fortunate enough to be able to land that. And so we left Macon and we went to Orangeburg, South Carolina. Yeah. Right. And so my first gig, I'm a Division I assistant. Year 2, I move up to the 3rd assistant role. And so 2 and 3, I'm actually an assistant. I'm, that's all tasks. You're scouting, you're recruiting, you're doing all that stuff, player development stuff. But that was my end. So I owe my end to coaching to Corey, right? And his connection and him putting in a good word for me. And that's how we really got officially into, that level of coaching. So yeah.
But before all of that, your dad coached at the Coliseum.
Oh yeah.
You forget stuff, man. You forget stuff.
Yeah. So they
had an all-star.
I'm trying. Yeah, they asked me to coach an all-star.
Well, no, really, they wanted me to coach it. I told you.
Oh,
and I said no.
Yeah.
I said,
yeah,
Mike go coach. I'm letting him coach.
So they had it was an HBCU sponsored all-star game, or
I think it was.
It was an HBCU all-star game, at the Coliseum, but they had a high school game prior.
Right.
And so we coached in that and beat the brakes off. Hey, no, you gonna call his name? Don't put him out there like that. No, hey, we got you flowers. Flowers. We got you flowers. but yeah, so we did that and then like I said, that might have been 2005, 2006 maybe. And then after that we get, we get connected, Corey, to the South Carolina State situation. Yeah. And then, we spent 3 years at South Carolina State, and I realized that's really hard on a family. And it was really hard on your mom because you and your two sisters were all under 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're coaching on that college level, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're gone. Yeah. And it is super time consuming. And so the stress of her having to raise 3 small kids by herself, that's tough. Right. And so I got out, and I actually didn't go directly into Wesleyan. I got out and went into the business world in sales, and then I get a call about Wesleyan being open. And it was late, like school had started. They hired me at Wesleyan in October.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like the season was about to start. You know what I mean? And so we switched from coaching guys to coaching girls at Wesleyan. But that is actually the first head coaching role. Yeah. So here I am 4 years into my career, and I'm a Division III head coach, right?
Yeah.
And that situation was tough. That one was tough. That one, I learned a lot during those 3 years, actually. But that first year, we were able to go win 8 games with 6 players,
yeah, I
right?
That.
So we went 8-12 with 6 players, and that's the most wins. That was the most wins in the last decade at the time, which was 2011, 2012 season, and it's the most wins since.
Yeah,
in a season. Like that's a tough situation. But that first year, we had some girls that would fight.
I remember.
They would battle. They would battle. We had girls like that the whole time, but that first year we had a group that was older.
Yeah.
So they ended up graduating and being gone, but they would battle. And for them, it was more so just like getting them to understand. They had lost so much. They were used to losing, right? And so coming in, and I'm sure they hate me.
Yeah.
But coming in, it was getting them to understand what it takes to win, but more so believing you can win, right? Like they had to believe they could win, man. And we pushed and they responded, and that was probably my most successful season as a coach, was that year. And we didn't even have a winning record. Like we were 8-12.
Yeah.
But with the challenges that we had to be able to do that was probably my most successful year. And so, it's funny because while I'm there, I get the itch to coach football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I played football in high school, right? Won a state championship at Mount DeSales quarterbacking, and had more football offers to go play than I did basketball. And so I got the itch. I was like, man, I want to coach football. In Division III, the way it's set up, you can. Like you can coach another sport outside of, And so I was like, man. So I reached out to Greg Moore, FPD, right? And it's like, Greg, man, I'm getting the itch to coach football, and here's the deal. I want a community coach. And he was like, man, come on. And so I went over there, coached football for a year, and they ended up making a change in the boys basketball position. And I got asked to apply, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we applied, and we got the job, and we ended up at FPD, right?
I didn't know that's how it went down.
Yeah, that's how it went down. Yeah, that's how it went down. So I coached that 1 year of football and coaching at Wesleyan. And then the next year, they hired me as the head strength coach and varsity assistant football and varsity boys basketball coach at FPD. Yep. And that was when you were old enough to really. Oh,
for me, that was really when I fell in love with it.
To be involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it, and I think the reason it's easy for you to fall in love with that at that time was because we got that big group of young kids. Yes. So there weren't many years between you and them, right? Like they were freshmen and you were maybe 5th, 6th grade, maybe.
When they graduated, I was in 8th grade. So
5th, 5th grade. So and that was such an awesome group.
Oh yeah.
That was an awesome group. Like Absolutely. Those guys, man, we had fun. And I'm sure they probably feel a way about me too because, because I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
I can't let you get comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And so I challenged them, man. And we ended up, I think the year before we got there, they won 3. Our first year, starting 3 freshmen and 2 guys who hadn't played a whole lot. I think we won 6.
Yeah. And
then that next year we won 16.
Mm-hmm.
And that third year we won 18 and, second round of the state playoffs and go up to Athens Christian and lose one late at the buzzer to go on to and then that last year we were on pace to do even better. We would have had 8 seniors that year and we ended up losing 5 of them.
Yeah.
2 of them transferred and 1 was a disciplinary situation. 3 of them actually transferred and then we lost 2 to injury.
Yeah.
And so, but that was fun. And it was fun for me to be able to, you talk about transforming lives, right? So one of the best players out of that group is actually still playing.
Yeah.
He's a pro now.
Yeah.
And he's overseas and, Maurice Gordon, he's overseas in Luxembourg playing his first year, just got finished up playing at Valdosta State. And he and I are connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we're connected. Like that's my guy. And so building those relationships that go beyond when you're done coaching them or, playing or, all those kind of things. So yeah, that's how I got in. And that's kind of the short spiel of my whole time. And then, well, actually that wasn't the end because when I left FPD and stepped into the business world, your head coach at Tatnall, your freshman year, Jarvis Smith, who's one of my best boys, who will be a guest on the podcast coming up real soon, asked me to bring you to him. That's how you ended there, right? You ended up at Tatnall, and he asked me to sit on the bench with him and be an assistant. So I ended up community coaching at Tatnall for 5 years, and so yeah, that's kind of my resume. My coaching resume, but that's how I got in. It was that night watching the Natty and saying I got to get in, and then that one phone call, and who he knew this, and so that's how we got in. Yep.
Did you have like a certain coach that you kind of wanted to or a few? Were there like certain coaches that you kind of wanted to, or that you looked up to or kind of admired in how you approach coaching?
Yeah, for sure. So now I will say this. So I named a couple of my youth coaches right earlier that influenced my approach to how I would coach. I saw a lot of coaches do things the way I didn't want to do things, right? So I learned a lot of not not how I want to be.
Yeah.
But
Build self.
So I never really I didn't know Bill like that, right? But so my first 2 years at Rice, Bill Self was now the head coach at Kansas, was the head coach at Tulsa, which was in our conference. And he, just watching his style on the sideline, how he handled his guys, how he carried himself, how he interacted with people. You see those things from afar. And there was one time that really made me go, wow, that's different. And so my freshman year, we're playing in the conference tournament, and they put all the teams in the same hotel in Fresno, right? Guys and girls teams, which still to this day I can't figure out. Like, that's a disaster. Like,
that wasn't very wise.
What?
I don't know about that one.
Like, what?
I don't know what that was.
Trying to start.
Want to be starting something. So we're all in the same hotel. So we leave practice and going to our room. We pass Tulsa's block of rooms, right? And so we pass one of the rooms, and the door's open, and you hear, you hear guys in there just having a good time, talking trash, laughing, they're having a good time. So, we're curious. So we peep in, right? Bill Self's in there playing the PlayStation with the guys.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, like, just man,
that connection.
That, right? Like that connection. Like you they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So if I can come down to their level and connect, and they're going to go to war for me.
Absolutely.
If I can show I'm in the foxhole with you, they're gonna go to war for me, right? And so that one instance and that one situation shaped my thought process on, like, you gotta connect, right? So it was that plus my experience. Which was the other side, right? And so transformative, transformational. You can see that's how he does things, and so that was influential, and so Bill Self, and I always liked, the Carolina tree of coaches, North Carolina, right? So Dean Smith and then, but then what's my guy that was there? Roy Williams, right? So Roy Williams, man, you could tell, like, he kind of had some of that same, and so I actually met Roy at the Peach Jam recruiting when I was at South Carolina State, and just, introduced myself. Hey man, I'm a huge fan of how you do things, from what I know on the outside. You may talk to his players and they may say something different, but from what I know on the outside, just watching him, love how you do things, and and he actually wrote me a letter.
I think I read that letter.
It's still in my car. He wrote me a letter after that, a few weeks after that, saying, great to meet you, keep working, always be where your feet are, kind of deal, that kind of deal, giving some advice on things. And so those guys, that may be it, just kind of looking at, just seeing things from afar, and picking up some things that you might want to try to implement in your philosophy and your style. But that deal where, we see Bill Self in the room with his guys playing the video game, like that's major, man. That's major. So
at Midtown Infusion Center, we supercharge your peak athletic performance. Whether you're recovering from an intense game, prepping for a big race, or just aiming to stay at your best, our tailored infusion therapies are designed to meet your unique needs. Administered by our team of experts, our infusions replenish vital nutrients, boost hydration, and enhance recovery. Midtown Infusion Center, because every athlete craves peak performance. Call us today and discover the difference. Your path to becoming elite starts here.
What did you think about playing for me that year when we went to Atlanta with Armand Burnett and Sid? And that was
fun. I mean, that was fun. Like, that was really, and that was my first. No, that wasn't my first taste of like higher level. Because remember, I played in the tournament with the Warner Robins Express that one year when we played the Atlanta Celtics up there.
Went up there and played
when I was in 7th grade, maybe 6th or 7th grade. And then they tried to recruit
you to play for them.
Side note, I remember that. You remember coming home that night? I had those Charlie horses. I caught those cramps. Oh my gosh, that was one of the worst.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the car?
Oh my God.
Y'all had to pull over?
Nah, we had a rodeo. Yeah.
You laid
in the back.
We had a rodeo.
I'm laid in the back. The rodeo was like an SUV.
So we can let the seats down.
I'm laid in the back, man. But yeah, but that year with you, I really enjoyed that team. And honestly, because that wasn't the 7th grade, 8th grade, so that would have been 9th grade. Yeah. That was when I was able to really garner some respect for my game in the area. Because me playing private school ball at Mount Excels, a lot of people didn't respect, you know, the kid can play a little bit, right? And so then once we get into that and we're playing with those kids from Southeast, Southwest, Central, you know, Northeast, and we're hooping.
Yeah.
Those guys gave me respect that they took out and said, hey,
that cat can play.
Hey, that cat can play. Yeah. He can play a little bit, right? And so that was, you know, that was good. But, you know, we didn't play for you long.
I know.
We didn't play for you long because they snatched us up.
They sure did. That's the team, man.
They snatched us up. So we ended up playing in Atlanta in the tournament. Did we play Team Georgia or did they just see us playing?
I think they saw us.
Okay. And so Team Georgia actually ended up recruiting 3 of us.
Oh.
And it's hard to say no to that. Because Team Georgia was one of the first shoe sponsored teams.
Yeah.
There were 3 shoe sponsored teams at the time. There was Team Georgia, Georgia Stars, and the Atlanta Celtics. And so Team Georgia was Nike sponsored.
Yeah.
And so
you know
what I'm saying?
You can't say no to that.
Oh, like, Daddy, I'm sorry, but you know, and so we started playing.
I wasn't sorry about that.
So we started running.
Let's go.
Yeah. So we started running on the circuit with Team Georgia, and that was oh my gosh, like you talking about next level basketball. Oh my gosh, like that team you had me go to Rice. Yeah, we had a post guy, 6'9" post guy that played at Florida State. Rodney, can't think of Rodney's last name. We had a 6'3" guard from Augusta. We used to call him Chicken Wayne. Named Richard. I can't think of his last name either. We called him Chicken Wayne. That was his nickname. But he played in Marshall. He went to Marshall. Ross, remember Ross?
Yes.
Ross went to Elon. Little point guard we had went to Elon. My homeboy Meatball, Demetrius Williams from Forest Park. He went to South Alabama. Rashad Caruth. You've heard me talk about him. Like one of the best shooters I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Like
you can feel it
ridiculous. 6'4", 2 guard. Ended up playing at Kentucky and Oklahoma. Mike Patrick ended up playing at Georgia. Like
that had a squad now.
That's
all D1.
You know, like that. And then you're playing against the Atlanta Celtics who had Jamie Brewer, who ended up going to Auburn and playing for the Pacers, AJ Moye, who ended up going to Indiana, Jeff Newton going, and then the Georgia Stars had Damian and Ezra. They go to North Carolina State, Georgia, and then the big boy that that Kojak dunked on from Columbus, the 6'10". Yeah, he went to Georgia, man.
Oh, man.
That's one of the nastiest dunks.
That's chest to chest?
My homeboy Kojak, man, played at Twiggs County.
It was out of nowhere.
He ended up, Kojak played football at FAM, but he went to Twiggs. Kojak about 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, about 6'1".
Lefty, right? I pitched it ahead to him on a break. Georgia Stars had a kid that was 6'10" from Columbus. He ended up signing with Georgia. Kojak took off on this cat, chest to chest. like when I say, back here on him, 6'1", 6'2" now. Like, back here on him, just tomahawk that. Oh, it's still one of the nastiest ones I've seen. Oh man, it was crazy.
Man, we were like,
oh my gosh, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
We wound up beating them.
It was crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so being exposed to Team Georgia like that's when the AAU stuff was starting to get real big.
Yeah.
Like with the shoe sponsor stuff, and it was starting to get real big. And so, we played Boo Williams in Hampton, Virginia. We play in Bloomington, Indiana, playing Charlotte, playing like true travel programs, right? And so that was a great experience for me. But it was eye-opening.
I remember letting him go to Kentucky.
Went to that camp.
Greyhound
with Scott.
Scott
did it. Yep. Scott did it. Yep. Scott and I. So Scott playing at Tatnall. We were rivals naturally because Mount DeSales Tatnall was the rivalry during that time because of football.
Yeah.
Like we played each other for 2 straight state titles, 3 or 4 straight region titles. So it was like, so we were rivals, but we became buddies, right? And so so they had this exposure camp in, I think it was Georgetown, Kentucky. And man, we jumped.
Can you remember the college?
Georgetown College.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Georgetown College, not university. College in Kentucky. But man, we rode the Greyhound 14 hours or something like that.
No, sir.
We jump on the Greyhound. Me and Scott jump on the Greyhound, head up there, man, have a good time, and ride that thing back. It was, yeah, but it was good. It was good times, man. It was good times.
Yeah, man.
What's kind of your story as a player from like high school and college?
Yeah. So we talked about like my youth a little bit, and playing in that youth league for the East Macon team, the youth Raiders team, right? I'm going to Northeast because I went to school on the east side at Walter P. Jones Elementary School, which is a feeder for Appling. I'm going to Appling. Graduated 6th grade from Walter P. Jones. I'm going to Appling. That's where my squad is going. Like, Pop's like, not so fast.
Slow down.
Right. Not so fast.
Slow down.
Right. Let's try this private school thing. Let's try this Mount DeSales thing. I mean, I ain't going no Mount DeSales. Like, how about you asking me to leave all my friends and I'm, like, man, I'm not doing that, Well, yeah, you gonna do that. Right.
You got no other choice.
Right. Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you're gonna do that.
We're gonna try this.
We're gonna try it for a year. And so I went to Mount DeSales in 7th grade, and it was great.
It was a wrap.
It was great, man. It was a great experience. And so at that time, I'm a 3-sport athlete.
Yeah.
I'm playing basketball, football, and baseball. And when I got to Mount DeSales in middle school, I put baseball down. And so I was just playing football and basketball. And so my 7th grade year, because it was split back then. So you had a 7th grade team and an 8th grade team.
Yeah.
So I'm playing 7th grade. Middle of the season, they pulled me up. Now I'm playing both. Mm-hmm. Playing 7th and 8th grade. Well, we win the title in 8th grade. 8th grade team wins the middle school championship. And so that's confidence building for me, right? Yep. Playing up and you know, being able to have some success playing up. And so then 8th grade comes around and they put me on varsity.
Yeah, you started varsity in 8th grade.
They put me on varsity in 8th grade.
Thrown in the fire.
You know, the Independent School Association, you can play varsity in 8th grade, right? So they put me on the 8th grade team, no JV. Put me on the varsity team, no 8th grade, no JV, straight varsity, right? And so, you know, I didn't expect much. Yeah. But I ended up playing a lot. Yeah. Like, I didn't start, but I came off, I was a 6th man pretty much, and I played a lot. Like, so my 8th grade year, we make a run to the Final Four. And, you know, we lose to Stratford by 2. And there's a head football coach in the area that owes me. I'm not gonna call him out, but we're tied, like with less than probably 10 seconds to go, maybe less than that. And he fouled a guy 94 feet from the basket, and they shot 2 free throws and won it. So, but you know who you are.
I've seen that clip.
You know who you are.
I know you talking about now.
You owe me one. That's my guy, man. Like, that's my guy.
Oh, that's my guy. Man.
He actually, he was great for me. But so 8th grade, we make a run to the Final Four, and I get a lot of playing time on varsity. And 9th grade was my first year starting varsity, and that was a coaching change. So we went from Coach Sherwood Coach Slocum to Coach Sherwood that year. And so we took some lumps just because he had new philosophy and stuff he wanted to do. And
he was a different character.
Yeah, he was. So he's from New York, so he was gritty.
Yeah,
like, and he was a straight shooter. Yep. Like no Southern hospitality. Kind of like it is what it is. Yeah. And either you can handle it or you can't. Kind of situation. So I played. So I started varsity in 9th grade. 10th grade. So I'm still playing both football and basketball. Actually, in 9th grade, I went back to playing baseball too. So 8th grade, I played all 3 in 8th grade and 9th grade. And so 10th grade, I cut baseball out and started playing with Team Georgia. Mm-hmm. And so 10th grade, I feel like we made a run to the Final Four. We did, because we lost to Deerfield in the Final Four.
Sure did.
My sophomore year. But the sophomore year was the year that I kind of started to score the ball a little bit, shoot the ball. Mm-hmm. And so Chris Slocum was vital in that development from 9th to 10th grade. Yeah. So Chris played at Mount DeSales, turned down offers from Georgia, Florida, Indiana, like big time programs back in the late 80s, mid-late 80s, and went and played at Jacksonville University. And Chris was Coach Robert Slocum's brother, younger brother. Yeah. So Chris, all-time leading scorer at Mount DeSales, like 6'6"-ish, played the 2. Mm-hmm. One of the best shooters I've ever, like he legit put the ball in the hole. Like, and so I don't know if it was you or me or Coach Slocum, but somehow we got connected to Chris to kind of in a training type, capacity. And so after 9th grade, he trained me that spring and summer, and I really started to shoot the ball and build confidence, because he would bring in guys, grown men, and I'd be playing against grown men, in the gym, playing full court 1-on-1 and stuff like that, 1-on-1 on the court. But he was vital to me progressing to another level from 9th to 10th grade. Shout out Chris, like that was big on my path too. He was big on my path too, and he actually was my connection to Rice too. A lot of people don't know that, but he one of his assistant coaches at Jacksonville was on staff at Rice. Okay. And so he was the one who called him, sent my, so he was one of my connections to Rice. But so 10th grade year, we lose in the Final Four to Deerfield. 11th grade year, we end up winning state. My 10th grade year, we win state in football, lose in the Final Four in basketball. My 11th grade, my junior year, we lose the state championship in football in double overtime and win it in basketball.
Yeah.
And so we had some athletic teams. I was fortunate to play on some teams that were really just athletic, and and then my senior year, a lot of those guys graduated, and we weren't as good, but we ended up still, I think, we made it to the second round in the state. And but so coming out of that, I really had more opportunities to play football post high school. And a lot of people don't know, but I was committed to play quarterback at Air Force. I took my visit to Air Force in March. I committed to play quarterback at Air Force, and then Rice came in. So Mercer was my first basketball offer early my senior year. Coach Loneker and his son played at Mount DeSales with us, so he was able to get his eyes on me before a lot of people. So that was my first offer. And then I had football. And so, like I said, I committed to play quarterback at Air Force and took my visit. They talked me into taking the visit to Rice in April, the following month. And Houston, like the city, and Beyonce.
Beyonce.
I left Houston with my papers, my national letter of intent. Like, Coach, yes. So I'm here. So Houston, I fell in love with the city of Houston on my visit, right? And so the weekend I went out was Kappa Beach weekend, which is a big party like in Galveston. But they had the kickoff party in the conference center in the Astrodome in Houston, right? And so they took me to that.
Yeah.
Destiny's Child is in the party.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to walk into a party and see someone, just, they were there, like just there. And so I was like, yeah, I might need to come on out here. But you know, it actually ended up being so the decision, it was bigger than just a basketball decision, because you know, I graduated high school 7th in our class. With excellence, with honors, right? And so academically, that was important too. Yeah. So Rice being a top 20 academic university in the country, you know, that was a draw too, as well.
Harvard of the South.
Yeah, Harvard of the South. You know, but that was a draw too. But it was different. Like, it was, I'd never heard of Rice until they started recruiting me. Yeah. Like, it's not known unless you're in Texas or in, you know, right around the Texas area. You know, in Texas, it's a super big deal.
It's well respected.
It's well respected. But once you get outside of Texas, a lot of people don't know, like, Rice. Like, what's that? You know? And so, it was the academic piece, the city of Houston, the opportunity to come in and be a part of a program that was kind of on the rise. Yeah, let's do it. And so, so we made that decision, and then, you know, we get there and it was like,
what have I done?
It didn't take long.
What?
It didn't take long. It was like, ooh,
reality check.
Ooh. So I probably, you know, physically, I wasn't really ready to contribute, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I graduated high school. I'm right at 6 feet tall, right? Yeah. 6 feet, probably 160 pounds, 165. Physically, I wasn't ready, right? And so there was talk about redshirting and all that kind of stuff, but we had injuries that really knocked those opportunities out and pushed us into the fire. At one point during my freshman year, we were starting 4 freshmen in conference. Like, it's rough.
Yeah, that's rough.
Right? Especially in the WAC, it was a high major conference at the time, you know, and so so freshman year, you know, I get out there, and this is how my Rice basketball career starts. Okay. So I get out there for orientation. School hadn't even started yet. Orientation week. 18-year-old, right? No, just, you know, I got a good head on my shoulders, but, you know, I'm out of the house. And so it's college. So I'm thinking, man, college experience, you know. Well, I had a real fast rude awakening. So my first week, at the time, the NCAA allowed you to do 2 hours of individual workouts per week, right? And so you could break those up how you wanted to. Some people did 30-minute sessions. So we did hours. So I think mine were like Tuesday, Thursday, right? So school hadn't even started, mind you. So I do my first 2 individuals. My first individual, I was like, oh, this is rough. And so I do the second one, which would have been Thursday. And after that one of the assistant coaches is like, hey, won't you come in tomorrow, which would have been Friday? Let's just shoot some free throws. Let's make 100 free throws tomorrow. So, you know, all right, cool. So I get in my head, I know I've already done my 2 hours, right? So shooting free throws, you know, that ain't really considered.
Yeah.
So we get in there, I start shooting free throws. Then he's like, hey, won't you jump out here to the wing? We're going to go wing to corner, da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, it's turning into a workout, right? So I'm like, coach, you know. So I say, coach, like, you just said we were going to shoot because not that I don't want to just, I'm worried about breaking the rule, right? Yeah. And so there was no like buffer. It went from that to what the hell did you just I'll send your mother back to Macon. I'm not gonna call her name. I send your mother back to Macon, Georgia, and da and I'll tell coach to get your back to like spazzed out instantly, right? And so he cussed me the whole, mind you, I did the workout, right? He cussed me the whole workout, right? And then afterwards, he told me, come up to the office. And so I go to his office. We're sitting in there. I'm an 18-year-old kid, right? If your ass don't produce he pointed to a picture on his desk of his family. My kids don't eat, right? I'm 18. And that was my introduction to college athletics, right? And instantly, I lost a little love for the game because now I realize it ain't about just the love of the game and the purity of it, right?
It's business at this
point. It's business. Yeah. It's business now. And it's what can you do for me for me to feed my family, right now, right? And it was transactional. Mm-hmm. Instantly, it became transactional. Yeah. That was my first week. Yeah. School hadn't even started. So you can imagine what the next 4 years was, right? Yeah. And so it was tough. And we were in an environment there where it was very transactional. It was, how can you help me help myself? Yeah. Right? It was not transformative. Yeah. It was not transformational. It was not relationship driven. It was not this will give you an idea. I've talked to guys on my coaching staff. This year will be 20 years that I've graduated college. 20 years. I've talked to the guys on my college coaching staff probably 15 times in 20 years and have not talked to any of them in the last 10, 12, right? So that tells you. So somebody who literally sacrifices their body, their time, their mental energy, their and for what? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, for what? Yeah. And so, so I learned some valuable things, right? Like you either learning what you want to do or what you don't want to do, right? So I learned some valuable things, and I will say that, and you and I have had this conversation, like that affected me negatively, mentally for years beyond my 4 years playing, right? And honestly, looking back, hindsight's 20/20, but looking back, probably should have transferred. Probably should have tried to find a situation where at least it feels like family. Yeah. At least it feels like these guys care. Yeah. And want to see me do well beyond these 4 years that I give them. Probably should have, but competitive. Yeah. Hard-headed. You're not gonna break me. You're not gonna make me quit. I'm gonna show you that you're not gonna make me quit. And that probably ended up costing me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that mentality probably costed me. And so, when I talk to kids now about going to that level and what to expect and what to look for, I always share that experience because it is a business on that level. Yeah. I mean, it is a business, and I respect the fact, having been a college coach, I respect the fact that you need players to help you win to feed your family, right? I understand that. But but also I respect those who help mold men and women and create those relationships and those bonds that if I need you down the road, I'm gonna call away. Yeah. Or if you need me down the road, I'm gonna call away. Yeah. Kind of deal. And that wasn't my experience. Yeah. That wasn't my experience. And it's looking back on that same visit, right? Where I see Houston and I see Beyonce. Oh yeah, and they take us to the Rockets practice facility while they're practicing, and we see Clyde Drexler and Charles Barkley and Elijah, all those guys, right? On that same visit, there was a senior on the team at the time that was on his way out who had been pretty successful. So, man, you think about doing it? I was like, yeah, man. He said, you sure? And yeah, man. Bro, you sure? Yeah, good, man. This
sign right there.
Just be sure, right? I'm 18. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But now I know. Now I know what he meant. I know what he was trying to do, and I appreciate that. So I tell young kids looking to try to make that transition to the next level, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you get truly what goes on behind those closed doors. Yeah. Make sure that you know, and you never truly know someone until you spend a lot of time with them, right? But there are people there on campus already that have spent a lot of time with them and
talk with them.
And a lot of them are not going to speak badly, but
the signs,
right? So you need to know, because to me, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old is probably one of the most important stages in a man's life. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And your mental development and emotional development and all that is super important during that time. Yeah. Right? So if you're in a situation where you're getting beaten down that affects you long run. Like, you know, it creates baggage that you got to carry, and you have to carry into your relationships. You have to carry into your relationship with your wife, your kids, your bosses, your coworkers, your people. Like, you don't want to be carrying that. So it's bigger than just that. And so, yeah, I had the highest of highs, winning state championships in high school, and the lowest of lows, you know, with my college experience. Yeah. And truthfully, I mean, playing wise, statistics, numbers wise, I didn't have a great college career, but my first year in college, my first week in college, I lost passion for playing the game. So now there's no way I'm about to go do extra work to be better.
Yeah.
Like, nah, bro, this ain't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and so that, you know, that's my story. And I think that story is probably more relevant than people know. And
oh yeah,
people see the glamour of Saturdays.
They see what they want you to see.
They see what they see on ESPN.
Yeah.
They don't see what happens the other 6 days. Mm-hmm. They don't see what's going on in those coaches' offices, in those one-on-one coaches' meetings, in those practices, in those interactions with people and teammates who only care about self and are only in coaches pitting players against each other when we should be forming chemistry, and y'all are pitting us against each other, and coaches having guys that, hey, I need you to tell me what's going on, and they're going back and telling, you know, like it, you know, though. And I had 2 college experiences like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One as a player, one as a coach.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to be really careful, because those people are human as well. Mm-hmm. So they have real personality things and
their own struggles
yeah. and depression yeah. and insecurities and stresses, and you know, they have that. They're human. And so you got to make sure you try to get with decent people who care about you holistically.
Yeah.
The Above the Rim podcast is brought to you by Midtown Infusion Center, located at 1425 Georgia Avenue in downtown Macon. We are Middle Georgia's IV recovery specialist. Give us a call today at 478-250-1325 and supercharge your peak athletic performance.